Hello everybody, this is Kara. Welcome to Glazing with AMACO. So today I chose something that's a little bit different, a little rustic. So I have two glazes from the Potter's Choice line that are both pretty matte and together create this really amazing rustic kind of surface. It is a little bit glossy in some places, a little, not very much. So I'm using PC-22 Blue Stone and PC-28 Frosted Turquoise to create this. So I'm going to set these here. This test tile shows that there is some running with these. Even though they're matte glazes, they do move a little bit. So be conscious of that. Be careful. Just because a matte glaze is matte doesn't mean it can't run. And the blue stone can run in certain circumstances and with certain layering combinations. So it's best if you are careful about how it's applied. And I'll talk about that as I'm glazing. So that is blue stone with frosted turquoise. But I also wanted to bring some other test tiles in. This is blue stone as a base with PC-60 salt buff over it. And salt buff gives this kind of ash glaze webbing and running. And I really liked how it worked in this combination. It looks so much like a wood fire or an ash glaze here along the rim, and you've got these wonderful runs, but you know, again, do be careful about the running because it can run. But I thought that was a beautiful use of salt buff. Salt buff is one that I think a lot of people are not really sure how to use it. I like using it as a glaze at the top of another base so that you get that wood fire look. So that's salt buff. And then this one, just double checking that it is what I thought it was. This is the blue stone as a base, and then it has PC-35 oil spot over the top half, and it didn't run very much, which is interesting, but you have this combination of matte and gloss that's just very, very interesting. Oil spot tends to be a glaze that doesn't get a lot of attention because it's usually just a brown glaze. Not one of the most exciting combinations or glazes for combining, but I thought that this was absolutely gorgeous. So those are two variations. So today, because this is a little bit more of a what I think of as a sculptural sort of glaze combination, I'm going to apply it to a hand-built form that is not necessarily functional. You'll notice I'm cleaning off my ware. I always use a damp, not wet sponge to clean off ware before I start glazing. I'm starting with 2 coats of PC-22, and I think I'm going to do the outside first. dabbing it to get it inside that handle. I was thinking about brushes this week. I do get a lot of questions about the brushes that I use, and if you have been following any of my live videos or posts, you know that these are AMACO Fitch fans. This is a size 4 because this is a relatively small piece. I wanted to use a smaller brush. And they are natural fiber brushes. You can find them on the AMACO website. So go to amaco.com and it's under Glaze Tools. Or you can put into the search bar Fitch fan brush and it should come right up. I really like how these brushes carry a lot of glaze and give a nice even coat. And I have to say I was a skeptic when I first started using them, but I have become a convert. Do take good care of your brushes, so clean them thoroughly and dry them thoroughly after each use, and they will last a long time. Our brushes do get a lot of use and they do start to look kind of worn, but they will last and last. If you ever have problems, they can be repaired pretty easily. I've repaired a few brushes where this came loose, but generally our brushes have been really sturdy and they are fantastic to use. So let me make sure missed a couple spots. This is the difficult part about, there we go. So while that is drying, which shouldn't take very long, I did want to show my Galaxy mug. Set my glaze aside, set my cups aside. The Galaxy mug that I glazed, was that 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago? I sometimes lose track. The Galaxy mug is obsidian. It is 2 coats of obsidian and then thick globs of seaweed and smoky merlot and some dots of the white velvet. So velvet white underglaze, V360. Just dotted on to look like little stars. Boop, boop. And those are totally smooth since they're small dots, but they did what I was trying to get them to do, which is just look like little star dots. So this did run a bit, so I will have to sand the bottom just a touch. This was fired to cone 6, seaweed, smoky merlot, 2 coats of obsidian, and dots of velvet. And it came out really nice and glossy. This will be a great mug. So the bluestone does dry pretty fast. So now you'll notice I put 2 coats on the entire piece. If I were using bluestone alone, I would do 3 coats. And I think I'm going to do 3 coats on the inside, since I'm only going to use the frosted turquoise on the outside. When you're glazing handles, keep in mind that handles do tend to hold a lot of glaze, and so when you get running, very frequently it's going to run wherever the handle is. So you'll need to be careful about putting extra glaze, not putting extra glaze, making sure you don't have too much glaze on the handle. Okay, there's 2 coats. It'll take a little while to dry. So what I was saying about this moving and running, I can tell that this ran because when I make these test tiles, I only put the second glaze, the top glaze, down to between 1/3 and 1/2 of the way down the cup. So it probably ended right about here. And yet I can see that it pulled and moved and shifted down. Now the frosted turquoise and frosted melon both will come out kind of greenish when layered. They'll both look about the same. And you do have to be careful when layering them over a glossy glaze, because sometimes over a glossy glaze, especially one that moves, any glaze that moves with the frosteds, they can bubble and blister, and it does happen sometimes. So do be careful with that. The frosteds look great over celadons for a rustic kind of look, if that's what you're going for. But they do have to, you do need to test before you use them on top of the PC glazes and on top of any of the other PC glazes, just to make sure that you're not getting any blistering. And in this case, I don't see any signs of it, but it can always happen. I'm going to put another, I know this is still wet, but I'm going to put a little bit more on the inside here. And we're going to come back for part 2, and I will apply the frosted turquoise. Part 2 is going to be at 12:30, so join me, come back and join me at 12:30. And by then, this will have dried and we'll be ready for the frosted turquoise to go on. If you have any questions, just drop them in the comments, and I will be happy to answer them either in part 2 or offline. And happy glazing!